Welcome back. Check this story out. You go to the doctor, you're thinking maybe you have a cold, maybe worse yet, the flu. The last thing you expect to hear is that you have a rare terminal disease with treatment and with no treatment, rather, and no cure. Well, that's exactly what happened to our next guest. And we're following his medical investigative trail to see how his fight for his life turned his death diagnosis into positive ramifications, as well as leading to an upcoming television show. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Michael Fugler. He is an attorney living in Kissimmee, Florida, not visiting us from the space station, though. Is that correct, Michael?
That's correct, Mitch.
Okay, very good. Let me ask you, Michael, how did this traumatic journey start with you?
Well, I've had sinus and postnasal drip and cough pretty much my entire life. But in late 2017, it was constant bronchitis, constant sinusitis. And then in January 22nd, 2018, I flew to Orlando for a conference. I wasn't living here at that time. And once I arrived at the condo where I was staying, I started coughing like I'd never experienced before. The coughing was relentless and I had a hard time breathing. I thought about going to the emergency room, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So I drove to the front gate. I thought, well, maybe I'm overreacting and going to the hospital is not a good thing. So I said, look, I'm having problems. Could I get the number for the front desk here in case I need help? Mitch, I don't mind telling you, I was really scared at that moment. The coughing was so bad, it felt like I was coughing a lung up. So I thought, well, maybe if I force myself to sleep, that I'd have a good night's rest and maybe it would just calm down. So I took a double dose of NyQuil, knocked myself out, fortunately, and eventually fell to sleep. The next morning I drove to the conference, but I felt so bad. Rather than park the car, I pulled up to the hotel. I went to the concierge desk and asked for doctor referrals.
All right, now that was all during the middle of flu season, right? And then once they gave you those referrals, where did you go?
Well, people may not remember, but in January of 2018, we had a horrific flu season. And yes, it was right in the middle. He gave me 3 references. The first one I went to was a CVS Minute Clinic right down the street. And I walked in the room and people were everywhere. Even then, people were wearing masks. People were draped all over the chair. They were on the floor. I was worried about that. And then they told me it would be 3 to 4 hours at least before I could see a nurse practitioner. So then I went to urgent care. The parking lot was full. There were 2 ambulances bringing people in.
Wow.
It was packed again, people in every chair and on the floor, so I left. The third reference they gave me was an MD VIP, thank God. They saw me in 15 minutes. Now, it cost a lot of money to get in the door, but it was worth every penny, and it was really a blessing. This doctor spent 5 hours with me, giving me multiple breathing treatments, a chest x-ray. The chest x-ray showed atelectasis, which is trouble breathing, tightness in your chest, coughing, chest pain, partially collapsed lung, honeycombing inside your lung. And the doctor was concerned that it may develop into pneumonia and said, could I stay in Orlando and be treated, or I needed to go home right away and seek treatment there. So I went home.
Okay. All right, we got about a minute left here. So once you had that diagnosis, give us a kind of a brief, succinct way of what you did and decided to do and where that led you.
Well, it led me to a year's worth of tests, everything from CT scans to breath tests, walking tests, EKGs, you name it. Then I got referred to a series of doctors, allergy, ENT, pulmonologist, specialist for pulmonology, and they all said the same thing, we don't know. So then I go through 2 hospitalizations, cryobiopsy, 2 sections of my lung taken out, and finally they said, we're throwing the towel in, you have idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. It was a shock. They said you have a terminal illness, there's no treatment, and there's no cure.
So now this led to obviously a television show. Explain that a little bit, and then how you're feeling right now, and then where do you want this to really lead you?
Where it led me was panic initially, and then emotions that I can't even describe. There's so many words, anger, sadness, you name it. And my wife was in tears when we found out. I got teary-eyed. So I said, I can either do nothing or I can be an advocate for myself. So I started calling people to see how they got involved in their terminal illnesses and what they did. And I met a retired judge who was a longtime friend of mine, who I found out had just been given 6 months to live with COPD diagnosis. I called and asked him, could I see you? Could I talk to you?
And so now this is also right around the time, now you're going through this coronavirus. I'm sure that popped into your head, right?
Absolutely. The coronavirus now is preeminent, and there's a real analogy that goes between the COVID and what I have. In the COVID-19, every news media, every doctor, every interview, they say, we don't know, we don't know, we don't know. And that's the same thing that's been done for me. So as I began to start contacting and interviewing people with lung diseases, trying to find a better quality of life, I couldn't sleep. I was desperate to find the right combination of nutrition, exercise, whatever it would take to help me sleep. And that's what led me to the judge. And from that, it developed an interest in things that are out the box that might help me have a better quality of life. And that led to the cannabis story.
All right. Well, I tell you what, we could talk to you all day about this. It's very fascinating. I appreciate your candor with us as well. We're going to make sure you tune in next week. We're actually going to follow Michael's quest and the judge's journey on and the medical miracles that actually started to happen as well. Are you positive? I need a yes or no. Are you positive about everything? How are you feeling?
I am now.
Good.
I can't lie to you. I was not positive for quite some time.
And
it's a delicate struggle.
100%. And I just wanted people to leave it with that you are staying positive, and we're going to see that in the weeks to come. Thanks for joining us. And I can't wait to talk to you again and hear a little bit more about this next week. Thanks for joining us. We're going to have more Daily Flash. It's here. Don't go anywhere. We got great stories and some fun as well. You're watching Daily Flash.